Bill Stracener has observed the changing life and landscape of our area and masterfully captures a gracefulness that never fades. He shares with us a bit of his work and a fast lesson in his technique.
When you paint and really get into painting, you can absolutely lose yourself. You are not really there. It is as though the paint and the brush have taken over. I do tend to paint and draw some of the things that are disappearing because they've been part of my life and part of a lot of other people's lives too. There have been times when working on a painting, I have forgotten to eat. And that's when you're really lost, because I like to eat. But yeah, my paintings, if I had to describe them, really, I guess the term impressionistic realism. I don't paint every leaf, every blade of grass, every board, but give a suggestion of it. And in that way, it's slightly impressionistic. And yet, people in this section of the country, by and large, relate more to the reality of what has been in their experience. The light in Louisiana is part of what I try to capture. And especially my outdoor paintings. Don't do many still lifes, but Louisiana has a peculiar light. We have a high humidity, we have fog, we have haziness, and that is not necessarily caused by pollution. It's just caused by the high humidity in the air. And I try to capture some of that, and I think it's reflected in a lot of what I do. There is a brilliance to watercolor. Painted reasonably thinly on a surface, the light goes through and strikes the white of the surface and comes back through the paint and gives a brilliance that you don't get with other media. Usually I start a painting, I may have a vague idea, and I'll say, oh, I'm going to do a bayou scene, and I'll start with a blank piece of paper. Wet it down. I work wet in wet. In other words, the paper is wet, the pigment is wet. And generally apply a broad area of some color to almost the entire sheet of paper. And then think in terms of dividing the sheet of paper into interesting areas, none of them equal to each other, but slightly different. And then place a center of interest at one of the intersections of those divisions of the paper. And then think, well, what's going to go there? Okay, I'm going to put a cypress tree there, or I'm going to put a cabin there, or I'm going to put a hunter, or an azalea bush, or whatever. And then the rest of it builds around that and say, what is the accompaniment for this focus of the painting? And as the paper dries, you're painting, you work first in large areas, and as the paper dries, you come down to smaller areas of work, and as the paper is drier, you can get crisper, more accurate details in something. Then you can also lift paint off of the paper as long as it's wet. You can scrub it out even when it's dry. And it requires a knowledge of the types of paint that you're using and where you're applying them, and knowing whether you can come back to that area and lift paint out or not if you want a lighter area there. I benefit from techniques and methods of expression that I have been exposed to, and as far as I'm concerned, there are no secrets in this. And you get in there in the classroom and you hear them say, oh, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. And I just tell them, hey, crooked lines are in this year. You're in luck, you know. And yeah, how do you do so-and-so? And I say, look, this is one way of doing it. I said, there may be other ways of doing it too. And you always try to tell them, the way I paint, is not the only way to paint. It's just what suits me. And hundreds of other people do it different ways, you know. So you just play with it and learn what's comfortable for you and do it that way. Now, one person may not like this particular painting, and another person may say, that is exactly what I want. Everybody's got a different slant on things, and you cannot please them all. So the thing to do is you paint what you are comfortable painting, what you want to paint, the best you can do it. And then if you want to put it out in the public eyes, they make the decisions.